Harley P works here. Red Hair Shanks is a weasel and a snitch. I want to tell you who he's snitching on and why him being a weasel is very eerily similar to Blackbeard, okay? So in chapter 907, we see that during the Leveille, Shanks is meeting with the 5 Elder Stars to warn them about a certain pirate. Now, the nature of him warning them about anything is weird from the beginning because it paints him as someone who likes to keep the status quo, someone who doesn't like the ship to rock too much, which automatically points him out as a Fed with context that we've had recently, okay? So the thought around the community has always been he's either warning the 5 Elder Stars about Luffy or about Teach. So Blackbeard or Straw Hat, right? At this time, Blackbeard is world renowned. He is famous. He is a Yonko. We learned this in Fishman Island. So it can't be him. Even Emu knows about his rise to power. He's not that much of a secret. Everyone knows about him. Same thing with Luffy. Seeing as how this is in the post-time skip, all the crazy antics Luffy performs have been done already. He's attacked Enies Lobby. He's escaped from Impel Down. He was at the War of the Best. He returned to Marineford after the War of the Best, etc., etc. People are even imitating him, which we see at the start of the time skip. He is no secret. He is a cut above any super rookie at this point. He is famous, okay? So it can't be him. He's not someone that would be below the world government's notice, okay? I believe it's Buggy. Buggy is the one that Shanks is warning the Gorosei about. Because who has come up recently during the time skip? Buggy. Who rises to power immediately after the abolishment of the warlord system? Buggy. And I think the reason why they put Buggy on the map after the warlord system was abolished is because of this warning from Shanks. Because what happens is that after the system is abolished, Crocodile comes to Empty Bluff Island to collect on the debt that he has with Buggy. Automatically, after this and after Mihawk showing up and after Buggy's cronies make up those posters, the world government sees him immediately as a threat because they're going off the information that Shanks told them about, and it's backed up by the events that correspond after the fact. So that's why I think Buggy becomes a Yonko. It's in combination with Shanks warning the world government about him and his own actions during the time in which the warlord system was abolished. Now you may be thinking, well, Buggy's a joke. Why exactly would Shanks warn the world government, the 5 Elder Stars, about him? I think there was a time in their childhood in which he saw that Buggy has a very similar ability to Luffy. The ability to make allies out of anyone. Because the funny thing about Buggy and Shanks is that in the many times that we've seen them in flashbacks when they're children, the actual leverage is actually put on Buggy. People such as Roger and then later in the current time period, Whitebeard, actually look at Buggy with fondness. It's even when the boys go up to Skype here during the Odin flashback, Roger tells Buggy that when you become your own captain, you can come back here and do whatever you want with the Golden Bell. So he's instilling in him the pride to go on with his pirate career after he becomes a man and become his own captain, which is very interesting because in Egghead later on, we see that from Buggy's perspective, it always seems as though Shanks was the favorite child amongst the two. But in actual canon, that doesn't actually seem to be the case from what we've seen Roger and Whitebeard say about Buggy. Whitebeard, even when he meets with Shanks, asks Shanks about Buggy. It's very interesting that this sort of inconsequential, funny little guy is on the minds of all these really heavy-hitting pirates. So I think, too, the reason why Buggy actually ate the Barabara no Mi, the Chop fruit, is because that might have been Shanks' plan the whole time. He knew that Buggy had the fruit and was planning to sell it. So in order to keep him from rising above himself when they got older, he spooked him and made him eat it because he knew that Buggy had a very selfish and greedy nature, and he manipulated that. So he tricked him into eating the fruit, much like how he presumably presented the gum gum fruit or the human fruit model Nika before Luffy, knowing that he would eat it. You see what I mean? I think he is a bit more meticulous than people give him credit for. He is strategically pumping people up and putting others down so things can work in his favor. Because what's also very interesting too is that I think that's why he doesn't have any animosity towards Buggy, like during Marineford when they meet up, is because he still sees him as this no-name pirate from the East Blue. He didn't know that during this time, people actually found out who he was connected to and what his reputation actually was in the past, which then gave him all the accolades that he has now. So what I'm saying is that this creates a bit of disturbance for Shanks, so he's trying to actually get him axed by the world government. However, these plans are thwarted because not only does he get Crocodile on his side, he actually gets Mihawk too, who was Shanks' rival. So not only does he have Crocodile, but he has Mihawk. So despite his best efforts in trying to put Buggy down and get him out the way, he keeps rising to the occasion via his own dumb luck. Another thing that may be kind of obvious is that Shanks was given the straw hat and Buggy was not. However, I don't really necessarily think this means that Shanks was the favorite pupil between the two. I think he was the more responsible one and the one more likely to act out the wishes of Roger than Buggy was. Because Buggy has always been a free spirit and a wild card, a pirate amongst pirates, because he's always been after the gold, he's always been after the bag. Whereas Shanks presents himself even early on as a bit of a optimistic Superman type character. So I think Roger, seeing that, tasked Shanks with doing the deed that he knew he presumably or possibly wouldn't have time to do because he knew his time was actually running out. This was made more apparent when he actually went to Laugh Tale and discovered the One Piece. He presumably found out that the time was too early and that he would have to entrust his will to another in the future in order for the One Piece, whatever that may be, to actually work. So I think he entrusted Shanks with that because perhaps some things that Shanks has done in his stead as a Roger pirate put Roger in the frame of mind that he was the more responsible one of the two. Because we know from Buggy going after gold, even as a child, that he was the more piratey one of the two and one that would be less likely to actually uphold the wishes of Roger. Another thing about that is I think this might have set a precedent of jealousy within Shanks because this means that Shanks has a mission as a pirate. His mission isn't the romance of adventure. His mission is to do what his pirate captain back in the day tasked him to do. Whereas Buggy got to gallivant off and do whatever he pleased. This might have kind of soured their relationship in a way that Shanks isn't presumably willing to admit. But I think that might be the case, but he doesn't really show it because of all the accomplishments he has garnered throughout his pirate career and how he has effectively kept Buggy at the bottom for a reason. Because he knows that if Buggy actually wanted to, he could be at his level and actually triumph in ways that Shanks could not imagine, which is why, too, he wanted Buggy on his pirate crew and at the start, because he wanted to perhaps temper or keep in line this wild spirit that Buggy has, because like I said previously, Buggy has the same power as Luffy to make any person his ally. So Shanks wanted to control that and use it for his own benefit. Which is why, too, like I said before, that's why he spooked him, because he knew he had the Dough Fruit. And if he makes him eat a Dough Fruit, this would actually hamper Buggy's journey, because now he wouldn't be able to swim. This is very similar to how Teach, back in the day, killed Thatch over a devil fruit. So it's the exact inverse of the situation. Shanks made a crew member eat a devil fruit in order to hamper their pirate career, so it will be an easier climb for him up the ladder in the world, whereas Teach killed a fellow crewmate over a devil fruit so that he could rise to power and he could have an easier time conquering the world as he saw fit. Going off the topic of the devil fruits, I think Shanks from a very early age, much like Teach presumably, knows a lot about devil fruits and maybe too has memorized all the shapes and colors, because I think this is why he goes after seemingly a useless fruit that only turns you into rubber, because he knew the true nature of the gum gum fruit was the human fruit model Nika, and he probably also knew that Buggy had a seemingly useless fruit in the chop chop fruit. So knowing that, he made Buggy eat it by surprising him, because he knew that Buggy would try to keep it from him as a secret in order to sell it, because we know Buggy's about the paper, he's about the bag. So he makes him eat it so Buggy wouldn't become a problem in the future. The problem with this is that I think this is an inverse situation. Much like how it's presumed that the gum gum fruit is useless, but in turn it's like one of the most powerful zoan fruits in the series, I think the same can be said for Buggy's fruit, the chop chop fruit, because there has never been a situation, I think, in the series in which a devil fruit's defenses are as absolute as the chop chop fruit. Because mind you, the strongest swordsman in the world, Mihawk, tried to cut Buggy but couldn't. Tried it twice and it failed twice. I don't know what that says, but like I always say, there are no jokes in One Piece, just funny explanations. So therefore, so far, Buggy could not be cut by the strongest swordsman in the world. His fruit, for whatever reason, or him with that fruit, is absolute, which could mean one or two things. One, his fruit defenses are that king, or two, he is that king and he can intercept attacks on a dime if there are cutting attacks. So I'm saying this to say, I think in the future we're going to find out that Buggy's devil fruit is also a bit of a big deal. Additionally, I think another reason why Shanks tricked on Buggy and snitched him out to the world government is because Buggy, much unlike Ace, probably doesn't know his true heritage. I think Shanks found out who Buggy's father is, which made him act accordingly. He could have found this information out way later, or it could have been way earlier, but I think it's way later he found this out, because I think as he rises in his pirate career, he gets more connections and more information. So he might have found out that Buggy was the son of Roxy Zebek, which immediately tells the world government that we should watch out for this guy. It might have been the reason why, too, they abolished the warlord system, because we know that Teach is LARPing at Zebek, much like how Shanks is LARPing at Roger. These people are not the true holders of their predecessors' wills. Teach is not Zebek, and Shanks is not Roger. Luffy is the inheritor of Roger's will, and therefore Buggy is the inheritor of Zebek's will, because it's too, I should say, obvious, or it's too coincidental that in this short amount of time, Buggy is building a entourage of people that would rival what Zebek had back in the day. Right now, he has the strongest swordsman in the world on his side. And people might say that, oh, this isn't a real alliance, this whole thing's a sham. Mind you, when you look at Luffy's crew beats him up too, much like how Crocodile and Mihawk are beating Buggy up. It's the same thing. What might seem like malice and ill intent at the start is going to evolve into camaraderie and friendship towards the end, which is why I think Buggy has this whole announcement of wanting to become the king of the pirates and wanting to go after the One Piece, because we know that is what Crocodile wanted for himself. So now it's rekindling a fire in him, and it's also giving Mihawk a purpose to do something with all this immaculate strength that he has. And with that being said, thank you for watching, and that's all I have for you today. Give me your thoughts. If you like stuff like this, please feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Pauly P Works. And if you like what you see, I would appreciate your subscription. Thank you so much. See you next time.